Somewhere in there we planted a lot of vetiver by hand and I am very doubtful that this vetiver is alive. So I think it is high time that we cut this open and rescue the vetiver if it is possible to rescue it. The plant is dormant when it is cold. Now that it's warm, it should come alive, but only if there is light. And we lost vetiver that way. And that is a challenging thing when the vetiver is not strong enough, and then these plants that are made for the cooler part of the year take over and continue throughout the springtime when it is still cold at night and the vetiver doesn't want to grow yet. So there is a challenge. So the need to cut this and maintain this is still there. So vetiver is a great thing, but not if all these things are then the dominant species. So that's an issue. Wish us luck to find the vetiver. So we did try to cut down most of those thistles that were overwhelming everything, and now that should give all the other plants more light so they can come up and prosper. We did find some vetiver. This vetiver is not freshly planted, so it should come back up, those plants that were strong enough. So there we have vetiver. It's that and this. And here on the other side. And there is also some vetiver in there. It looks brownish, and there was something. So hopefully this will now find a way. Of course, these things, as you can see, they are pretty aggressive. And like I said, wish us luck that this mulch, which it is not overwhelming the plant that we really want. So this idea of not cutting everything, well, it depends what you want and what is the plant that you are after. And if you planted something, then being overwhelmed by something else, a weed in this case, yeah, that is a weed in our case, that is not a good idea. So if this were trees, yeah, it's a different thing, but we planted a veti here to stabilize this slope here. And the vetiver is pretty good at it, but only if it can grow. Let me show you another example. So here on the other side, this is also full of vetiver, but it's not the first time that this happens. So here the vetiver is already sick and dominates its place. And once the other things wither and die because the heat is not to their liking, the vetiver can then win. But if the vetiver is still too young, then that's a problem. So this will cure itself here, and the puppies, they are welcome. And we don't have those thistles here, we just have the mustard. And the vetiver has been here for a few years, but that abundance due to so much rainfall is new. So this is also a new situation. Let me take you over there. I am recording this on the phone, so it's not so stable. Yeah, so I see the vetiver down there. And let's go here to the other side. Yeah, there's more vetiver. It still has what they call autumn colors when it says I'm too cold. So all the mustard should disappear, but here between the poppies you can see the vetiver. So especially here at the edge, there I can see more. It does exist, and hopefully when the mustard gives up, the vetiver will then take over. That is the whole idea. And now that I'm panning over this, the palovnia trees down there, they suffered the same fate. All the leaves basically froze up and died. But I believe that the plant will make new leaves now that the temperatures are rising. I am standing here in a t-shirt. 2 days ago that were not possible, and you see that it's already close to sunset. It looks nice there. There's an abundance of forage, and the idea is to let this finish its cycle, and then we have standing hay there, and we can use this for the horses, for example, and the sheep. So here Alexander and I cut a few things down yesterday, and yes, there is vetiver alive in there. So here at the edge you can see it there. It does exist, and yeah, it was at the brink of being destroyed by lack of light, and now this should recover, hopefully, in all the important places with all this stuff removed. And the lesson is, when all this winter stuff starts to grow and we have a summer crop for certain purposes like the vetiver, we definitely need to keep it alive by cutting away the other things. As helpful as they in itself might also be, but there's no point in putting warm season plants there and then losing them over the winter when the other things take over. Once the things are established, that's a different thing. Then they should be strong enough, and then there should be a give and take, like in the other place behind me. So to refer you to that, I mean there. But that is difficult, especially when there is too much of the colder season things. Of course, this is a balance that needs to be found. This will not come from one day to the next, but I hope you can see that some cutting is required, at least in the phase where things get established. Every single piece that is hanging here from the ceiling is accounted for individually. Nothing can escape. Each leg has a label with an identification number. Now Angel is taking one out to have a closer look. And here it is. You can see how yellow the fat is, and you can also notice how it has shrunk. Now the weight is significantly less than when it was fresh. When you start cutting the hem, it is important to keep this fat in order to close the cut surface again, so that it won't dry out. To get your own leg of hem, you can head over to our web shop and order some. There are two options for you to buy the ham. We offer envelopes with 100 grams of hand-sliced pieces of ham, and there is the full leg. In the case of a front leg, it's about 4 to 6 kilo each. Families in Spain keep the leg in the kitchen and everybody cuts off a slice whenever they are hungry. And I do have the same worry over there. So this is the same situation, that cold-loving plants are dominating at the moment. So here there's also a young vetiver that we planted last year. And yeah, we also run the risk of losing it, but it doesn't seem so severe. So I think there is no need to cut the thistles that are growing there. But yeah, we need to keep an eye on that. So my decision for now is not to do anything in here, but let it run its course. So with higher temperatures, these thistles should then stop and the vetiver should take over. Let's hope that this is going to be the case. This relay here has become a little jungle. But I can already see that this is dying out. And of course, at some point, the cycle is done. But there is no intention to do anything here. So this used to be the animal path. And at some point it will be again. But right now, it is definitely over waist high. I'm on the phone right now, so I can't turn this easily around and show you. But let's go here. And there, in this trench, you can call it this whale, on the left side, there is vetiver. And I want to go closer there, but first I want to go here to the other side and have another look there. The sweet clover that the animals like to eat is also pretty tall, so this is very interesting. But then this here is also the place where we had some composted horse manure. And so now I'm trying to show you this. So if I turn this phone around physically, maybe. So I'm trying to show you how high that is. So this is more than waist, as you can see. And that is where I am standing. So let's continue on that path and go through here and then find our way to the gate. So let's open this. Let's have a look. So this is interesting. This has fallen dry, but very recently. Do I hear water somewhere? Cannot be. I was thinking that over there might be something, but it was something else. So this has fallen dry. Here where I'm walking, there is a water line which is half buried. We have drip irrigation here available, but I want to change this to wobblers. And so there is the vetiver, and the vetiver is looking nice, but it's not growing just yet because it has been too cold. But it definitely is alive, so I would think, because it has had moisture all the time. And those dry looking leaves, that is the vetiver. But it should resprout. And you can see these plants are not very big. So I'm now walking here where there used to be standing water, and you can see it is still moist. So that vetiver should have made leaves and should be able to come back. So here at the edge, it had an advantage. Let me turn back and show you this. So this is what wasn't completely submerged. It was on a little bit higher ground and is now taking over. I have no idea what it is, as always, but it doesn't really matter that I know what plant it is. I'm just learning by observation. So there where the line is, there's basically where the vetiver is. So it is very interesting. I'm walking here in a valley basically. And over there you see what has happened. And it definitely is pretty moist, because you can see my footprints here. And it's kind of slimy when I step onto that. We also have some leaves, that's also interesting. And there you can see vetiver that has already started to grow, because here it is a bit in the wind shadow and therefore it is warmer and it has not received the very cold wind that we had. It's also a clover variety, so a few things I do recognize. There's more vetiver that started to grow. And now getting here around the corner, there is also vetiver there, but higher up, and that is what I was worried about, that this might get overwhelmed. But I don't think any cutting is justified, because the vetiver should emerge. So there is one, and a few were already lost here before, and we can add them again, but then the idea is to manage this in such a way that the vetiver is always there. Now the clover here looks delicious. If I were a cow or another grazing animal, that would be just perfect. So before I rode around the corner, let me show you this lovely side here. The cold wind did not anything to those trees, those fruit trees that are for colder climates. But the heat-loving plants, they started too soon, and that includes the paulownia trees there. They all have a lot of damage to their leaves. And I learned that you can help that by irrigating and basically put warmer water onto the leaves when it is very cold. Apparently people who grow wine do that. But then of course you would have to have a means to distribute the water that high. So I am now walking here on very soft ground, here. And I'm trying not to do too much damage. There definitely it is very wet, so I'm not going there. So I try to stay here. So there is another vetiver there at the very edge, so this will certainly come up and grow, especially when the clover can't stand the heat anymore. There I see another one. So a few are there. Now the interesting thing will be here around the corner. So do I see vetiver here? I think down there is a little bit. Yes, and it is even starting to green up. So there where my hand is, I have a vetiver leaf in my hand and one that is green. So it is there and it is alive. So here at the very edge, clearly to be seen. So this is okay. There's nothing to do. There are even bigger plants. So over there as well. But then it gets a bit narrower, and the other stuff there is pretty tall. But we planted this on the very edge, so not on the surface. and it appears that was a good idea. So there is no immediate danger. Now let's pan around. You can see that this is looking very nice. Here we lost vetiver due to the very same effect. There wasn't enough irrigation, and then it was cold, and the other plants that you see, they took over. So let's try to get up here. It's a bit difficult. Okay, but here is a vetiver that is certainly coming up. So as long as it gets sunlight, that should be fine. So now I'm wondering who made this, because there is something that is trampled over. So someone was in here, and here in that trench that used to be flooded, the vetiver is well established since a while. So here is no problem. And there in that area we lost vetiver, but now I don't see a lot of sizzles. This was completely full, like in the other place where we cut, and is now less full of sizzle. So this is less severe. And my idea was to establish there more vetiver, but first we need to make our vetiver nursery. It is a lot easier to harvest and plant vetiver that way. So let this run its course and see what will happen. That peach tree is looking okay, judging by the leaves, and I can see also baby peaches. Here on the phone zooming is a little bit difficult, so let's not do this. So I do see little peaches, and I expect not to harvest these peaches because someone will beat me to it, and I know from experience that the rats are after the peaches. You will then find nicely peeled peach stones lying on the ground, and yeah, there is no harvest for us unless we come here and harvest ahead of time. So basically we are outnumbered by the rats and the birds, but I don't mind. This is the wannabe food forest, but it looks extremely nice in here, and it also feels very nice. So it has also a different sound. So as I speak, I am really in some sort of an enclosed space, and my sound comes back. So it feels like a chamber. So this is all very good. And that Kehigo over there is also going. It lost a whole branch, a big one, but it is going strong as it appears. The pigs don't like the acorns that fall from that one because it's not encina. They are bitter while the others are sweet. So I think this wannabe food forest is in good shape, and there's nothing to do except adding more trees. So in case that we run out of space for the trees that we have waiting to be planted, there are still a few left, but it's not that many. Then we can distribute them to other places, and this one is one of those. But first we need to have the proper irrigation in here, and of course now that we know how to do this, it will be wobblers. So there's quite a bit of installation to be done. And of course all that stuff needs to be controlled, so I need to understand first how to work with solenoid valves from an IT perspective, and also how to install them, because that is also not something that's plug and play. And while I learn this, we simply use manual shut-off valves. But being able to control that and automated based on soil humidity measurements. That of course is then the final stage of this. But the soil humidity sensors is something that I now have under control, so I can simply order them and put them into the ground and get readings. And if here and there one of us has to go there and open a valve manually, well then so be it. But at least we have a trigger based on actual readings. And automating this is then taking away the need for doing this manually. So it's basically then luxury, but it works. So that inspection was pretty successful, I think. Let's go around the corner here. What I should mention is we had a water line here and it's partially still there, but it's not connected to anything. So now we need to come back to the idea. And the idea was to connect it here to the other side so that we have the farmyard system. And this is an extension to it. And that way we have two pumps that take care of irrigation. One pump for farmyard and zone B, which is all of this there in the background, and it starts here, and the other for all of zone A. And eventually there will be more pumps and another pond for our zone C, which is all this up there, and then the altiplano and the other side of the altiplano where there should be a pond, but I see that pond a lot later this year, so that it fills over autumn and winter. There are a lot of things, and as we now made the first experience with having volunteers here on site, of course there will be more of that, and the cortijo there is getting better and better as accommodation. So there's still work being done in the bathroom, and the volunteer who opted to stay longer here and also wants to come back, who is Alexander, is working in there to make this happen. So thank you again. And eventually we have a really nice bathroom, and of course we will also take care of the roof and insulate it, and there are some ideas to install air conditioning for heating and cooling, because Alexander is making the experience and tells us what's lacking and also what the real situation is. So this will become volunteer central, and also will house some electronics and the batteries and all that. So this is now a vital part, and therefore we will fix whatever is necessary to keep it in good shape. And later this year there will be another building there. So this is now basically our transition, and the learning for volunteer participation has happened, and we refine, rinse and repeat, and then we can do this a regular program in a more structured way, because the first time it's always pure chaos, and I'm happy that people did not mind that much. And I'm also happy that one just called and said wants to come back, and once the person is here I can tell you who that is. But if you're hearing this ahead of time, thank you for the offer. You are greatly welcome.